Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's the night before Christmas, but it's the night before Ronaldo. It's not the night before Christmas. It's the night before Cristiano. Yeah, Chris, you see what I did there?
Yeah,
Len's not that impressed.
Oh,
but we're going to talk about Donny van de Beek because I think this is the biggest opportunity he's got for starting a game. And there's been a bit of a debate raging on Twitter this afternoon with the Prats that don't like the United Stand, but still take the time to watch it and clip it out of context. I'll never understand those people, but we'll be talking about that. Also, not in a great mood, hearing that the FIFA ratings have put Lewandowski above Ronaldo. Now, a lot of people agree with this. We'll be getting into that debate in a little bit as well. I'm not happy about it. Apparently, Ronaldo is 91, Messi's 93, Ronaldo's 91, and Lewandowski's 92. I totally disagree with that, and we'll get into that debate in a moment, although Levin might agree with it. We'll see. But we're going to start off talking about Donny van de Beek. Will he start tomorrow? Now, look, I don't think he will. Levin, start first of all, before we delve into it. Do you think he's going to start tomorrow from what you've heard and seen over the last 2 weeks and the situation the team's in? I said it was about a 20% chance. Do you think it's bigger than that? What's your initial thoughts on that?
Donny van de Beek is not starting tomorrow. He's not starting. I don't think Donny van de Beek
crying
starts.
All around now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when you first got me on the show and you said, "Tell me Bruno's contract's getting terminated." It's like deliver sad news. Donny van de Beek probably will not start. I don't see it happening, and for a multitude of reasons. I'm sure we'll get to that, but yeah, I don't think he's starting tomorrow.
I just wondered about Ricky's new Leeds channel name, and then I remembered Dan James. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know. But what I would say is that Fred unlikely to start tomorrow and shouldn't start tomorrow anyway. McTominay unlikely to start tomorrow and shouldn't start tomorrow. He's only just coming back from an injury, which leaves Matic, Donny, Van de Beek to start in the two positions. Realistically, do you agree with this, everyone at home? And do you agree with this, Levin? If I was to say to you, this is the best chance he's got of starting a game, really, considering that after today, after tomorrow, McTominay will be back. Fred will not be banned. So those two players come back. If he can't get a start tomorrow, how are we ever to believe that he's going to get game time? Considering Ollie said himself, you can't promise a player and keep them game time and then not give them game time. If he can't start tomorrow, when can he start? And we're not expecting it, but how does he start if he can't start tomorrow? That's what I say, because there's two players not available.
I think the only way I don't think Donny van de Beek is someone who is ever really going to start much unless, things happen maybe next season, like if Pogba was to leave or things of that nature. I think most of his game time will be, coming off the bench. The only games I could see him starting are like cup games, right? FA Cup games, Carabao Cup games, maybe like the kind of games where, we're facing young boys next week, right? Maybe he'd start that kind of a game. But I don't think Donny van de Beek is going to be someone, even with like Ollie and everyone saying he's going to get more game time, I don't think it's going to be getting more game time in the sense of he starts games. I do think he'll be just, he comes on more and he gets the feature that way.
I can smell McFred all the way from 3 p.m. Tomorrow OT. Keep up the great work, boys. Viva Ronaldo. Well, if anybody remembers this afternoon when I was doing the press conference reaction, you can check that out on the channel. But at that time, we also got news of another interview with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that was taking place by @Malakians. And he basically said, these are the direct words from Ollie, Levin. So we'll get your reaction to this. He says, Donny's waiting to play again to show what he can do. He can play as a 6 with 2. He can also play as an 8 as an attacking midfielder. He can play as a 10. We've used him sometimes wide left, coming inside, then he ends up as a 10, more or less. He's a footballer with many qualities we've liked at this club. But yeah, he can play as one of the two in the midfield. So is that Ollie not really understanding what a 6 and an 8 is? Because I'm like, so he can play as a 6 in a 2. He can also play as an 8 as an attacking midfielder, and he can play as a 10. For me, the way we played last year with McTominay and Fred, that was 2 number 6s for me. Is that what he means? Because I think a 6 would be Matic, an 8 would be Pogba, and a 10 would be Bruno. And the 8's allowed to get forward and the number 6 sits. That's my ideal 3. What do you think he's talking about when he says Donny can play as a 6 in a 2? That's Fred again, isn't it?
Well, yeah. When he's saying Donny can play in the 6 as a 2, he's saying, because when you play a double pivot, this is where like football language is very like muddled up a lot of the time. And I see a lot of people get confused about this, where when you play a double pivot, most people see that as you're playing 2 6s. Now, one of those 6s is essentially a hybrid where they are a number 8 but playing as a number 6, right? So like they have the freedom to roam, sort of like what you're talking about there, right? So him saying that specifically actually solves a lot of the questions people have had, right? Because I think people heard Donny say he can play as a number 6 and got that confused with he's saying he can play as a 6 in a single pivot, whereas Ollie is saying he can play as a 6 when it's a double pivot because he's playing alongside someone who's going to be a holding midfielder and he's the one that roams forward. It's a clarification I think a lot of people needed, because I think after the interview he did with Rio Ferdinand and all that, you know, people are like, wait, he's himself has said he can play as a 6, play him as a number 6 and play Bruno and Pogba. And that's not the type of number 6 he's talking about, right? Like, you know, number 6 is the position, the role that you're doing can be different. And in this case, Ollie's, I think, referring to the fact that he can play as number 6, but it's like a hybrid where he is a segundo at 8 and he pushes forward.
It is Friday night. We want to get some of your questions in later, so get ready for that. Thanks for the super chats. We are going to go through your questions. We're going to play a game in a minute. I've got a little timer. And if it works... Oh, he's getting excited now, look. The youth of today, all you need is a timer. I'm going to click that timer, right? And we're going to get a minute to convince the chat, right? Well, I'm going to give us a problem. And it's going to be what's Donny's best position. You're going to get a minute and I'm going to get a minute, right? So you can have a little think about that. But before I do that, and we could do other ones if people want to do later in the show. We're up for a bit of that. It's Friday night after all. But what I was going to say is that, so yeah, you're right. There's a bit of clarity there from Ollie that he can play as a 6 when there's a 2. And last year, McFred were 2 6s. Definitely. They were 2 6s. There was no individual 6. I think this season, Leeds was different, but definitely against Southampton, Matic was the 6. And definitely against Wolves, Fred was the 6, but Pogba stayed close to him. If Donny played in a midfield pivot, I could see he could play with a McTominay. I can see he can play with a Matic. That's worked. And he probably could play with a Fred. Do you think he can play with a Pogba?
No. Because whoever he's playing with has to be the person in the pivot where they are doing the traditional number 6 role, right? Yeah. You know, he can play in a number 6, but like you said, as a pivot, it's not the traditional number 6 role. He's a number 8 playing as a number 6, and he has the freedom to get forward the way a number 8 does. Yeah.
And well, no, we'll do that in a minute. I was going to say, Ollie said that he's been played off the left and tucked in. I can't really remember him doing that. I know Pogba's done that. He's used him that little. It's hard to remember when he pplayed off the left and tucked in.
I think there was a game where he got subbed on. I think it might have been like a Champions League game, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, man.
And as a 10, yeah, I think he's been subbed on a few times as well. I mean, like D Book fan, I mean, let's be honest, he's not a 6, he's not an 8, he's not a 10, he's a number 14, isn't he? Because he sits on the bench all the time. That's what he is at Manchester United. I certainly think he can play off the right and tuck in as well. Look, we'll do this now then. Do you want to go first or second on this, Levin?
So a minute to sell somebody on what his best position is in our squad.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll probably go over a minute, but I'll keep it to a minute. All right, let me see the timer.
Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. That's fine.
He's going to go first. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. When this starts going, here you go. This is Donny's best position according to Levin.
Donny van der Beek in the Manchester United squad is a number 8. Now, you might think, oh my goodness, Levin, what are you on about? He just said himself he's a number 6. Ollie's just said he can play as a 6 and 2. Yes, but you're getting a bit confused there, my friend. What I mean when I say he's a number 8 is that he's very much a number 8 in the sense of he's a midfielder who likes to roam forward, get involved in the play, and he does have a bit of defensive acumen to him. You know, he can put a tackle in. He likes to, you know, press and whatnot. But he's a number 8 in the sense of when he plays as a number 6 in the pivot, he is the one that's allowed to roam forward and get forward. And that's the way he's going to fit into this team if he's ever going to fit in. That's the reality. He's not going to ever play out wide. We have too much competition there. He's never really going to come in for Bruno. Bruno is an Iron Man. He plays all the time. And from what we see, it seems like Ollie likes Lingard more as a backup number 10 than Bruno. So if Donny's ever going to get a chance, he needs to be playing in that pivot as a number 6. But really his role is as a number 8, getting forward and getting involved in the play that way.
Over. So 8 there from Levin. So that was the case of Levin. He's very happy with that.
Yeah, I'm proud of myself.
Okay, I'm gonna clear it and do mine. Oh no, what have I done now?
Nice.
I think you've got to do that. There we go. Okay, so I will start now.
Let's hear it.
In the case of Donny van der Beek, I rise to say that the best position for Donny van der Beek is actually number 6. Now, I agree with Levin, so you should vote for him. I do think it's a number 8, but I must make another case. He cannot be a number 10 because that is Bruno's position, and he'll get splinters on his backside sitting on the bench all season. He cannot be a left-sided attacker like Pogba because Pogba won't be that when we get Rashford back. He therefore has to be the number 8 or the number 6, and he must show some diversity because if he's just a number 8, he's in trouble. I believe that he should be given a chance as a number 6. I don't actually think it's his best position, but Levin has said the best one, which is 8. So I think that if Fred can be given a go as a 6 and McTominay can be given a go as a 6 and Matic is too old to be the number 6, then I would give Donny a run there just to see what it's about. Maybe tomorrow against Newcastle would be the perfect game. Now, people think that's farcical, but look, you don't know until you try, and you can always sub him off if it's not working. And then you've got 2 positions for Donny. So I'd say try a traditional 6. There you go. The case for the opposition there.
Look, you know what? You said something specific there, which I think is very important to latch onto because, you know, you refer to people on Twitter and whatnot, and people will do this. You know, like you said, Donny, you know, when you look at what Donny van der Beek is as a footballer and what he's been, he is not the traditional number 6, right? And nobody is claiming that he is. He's not a number 6 in the same way Fabinho is a number 6 or Fernandinho is a number 6. But there is something to be said that, like, with the lack of opportunities he's gotten, you know, maybe he should be looking to try and evolve his game to be that, right? Because he just, it's sort of like when we're talking about Martial and like, we're talking about how Martial probably should try and become a left winger again, right? Because that's the only way he's probably going to get into the team with Ronaldo and Cavani. And it's like, in a similar way, you look at Donny and you think to yourself, Donny, you've got to show them that you've got more about you defensively, positional-wise, so that they trust you to play as a number 6 in a pivot where you maybe are doing that, you know, role, you know, the most. I still just don't think that's him because I think you look at all of his strengths and where he's, you know, been his best as a footballer, and it's always just been about how he gets involved in the play roaming forward. And I think to ask him to play that sort of limited role where he's, you know, the holding midfielder, it's almost unfair to him. Like, you know, that's just not what he's been as a player. But I do see that where it's like he needs to try something to get into the team. Like, he needs to try something.
Well, we gave it a minute ago there, and to be honest with you, I would probably go team 11 on that one. But you can go. Let's call it Vander. Is he Vander 8 or is he Vander 6? Now, the Vander 8 would be the player that plays next to the Matic or the Fred and has license to get forward, whereas the Vander 6 would be the player that sits there and lets Pogba or McTominay go forward. What we don't want to see, and probably what we are going to see, is the McFred, which is last year, where both have to sit back. And we saw that against Wolves. Now, that worries me. Let's see what people say first, because I want to come back on this. But a lot of people getting involved saying 6 and 8. What I think the truth is going to be, Levin, and you sort of touched on it there, is I think the truth is that we're not actually going to have a 6 and an 8. We're going to have 2 6ers who, if it's on the left side of the pitch, you go forward. If it's on the right foot, you go forward. But what that does is that's when you get Pogba against Wolves, where he's just sat back all the time. I actually think we're a better team. And look at Man City. They do it, where you have the player, the Rodri, who sits, and then the Gundogan who will get back, but will also get in the box. You never see Rodri in the box, but you do see Gundogan getting back to help Rodri. Whereas United, we almost share the role. And I would totally agree with you. I think that Donny would be the 8 in that system. But the sad thing about that is that in that system, you can only ever play Fred and Pogba or Fred and Van der Beek, Matic and Pogba or Van. I would like to see a system where you can play Pogba and Van der Beek, because I personally think, as weird as it is to people, are you seriously telling me that Fred's a better 6 than Donny? He can't pass and he can't control the ball. So I would like to see it. And the only reason I've sort of changed my mind on this is because Donny said he can play it and Ollie said he can play it. So let's see if he can play it. And if it doesn't work, we can all go, he's not that. He's never going to be that. Let's never do it again. But I would like to see it tried. And I'd go back to what I said earlier on, and obviously a lot of people disagree with it. Why could you not try that against a team like Newcastle? Because McTominay's not fit, and neither is and Fred might be banned. But I don't think he ever will do.
Yeah, and as much as I get the idea that maybe Newcastle would be the game to try it, it probably isn't, just because when you look at where Newcastle are going to be strongest and what they're going to look to do, they're going to try and hit us in transition the same way Wolves sort of did. Like, they're going to rely on Callum Wilson and St. Maximin on the counter to really punish us. And you look at where Donny and Pogba in a pivot would be weak, it'd be defensively in transition. Like, that's where you get caught out. And so I just don't think we would risk that. Not at all. I don't think there's many games where we'd see that. And like I said, maybe Donny gets a chance, and in that game he shows Ollie a certain level of maturity when it comes to his positioning. Because you look at the games where he's played in the pivot, and I remember I used to always check after every game where we'd see him in a pivot, always check his average position, right? And average position is always like a nice thing. It's better than heat maps, right? It gives you a better idea of where somebody sort of operating on the pitch. And his average position was always ahead of the person who's in the pivot with. Always, always further above them. And it's because, he just is that one that wants to get forward more. And I think if he was to show to Ollie maybe that, he isn't always going to be the guy to go forward, and maybe he can sit back and play that way, maybe he'd get a chance there. But even if he gets a chance to play more often, I don't think we're going to see that from him. I think we're going to continue to see what he's always been, the guy that is trying to get into the box, link and play that way.
There's a bit of breaking news coming in here that people are getting excited about. We'll just discuss it for a moment because it obviously is important to Manchester United. This is breaking on various social media accounts that the Glazer family have sold over 5 million Class A shares in Manchester United to Ariel Investments with full voting rights. However, that works out as, some people are saying it works out that it's not even a 1% stake in the overall ownership of the club. So ultimately, it's an investment company located in Chicago. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know. You start to get excited thinking they're going to sell the club, but if you look at the company that's bought into it, that's not exciting. It's an investment company from bloody America. And by the sounds of it, it's a very, very small percentage. It's the Glazers getting a bit of money, giving up a tiny bit of their ownership to make a bit of money.
They just need a cash injection. They wanted to raise a bit of funds, get some money in the pockets, and you probably, I'm sure they have a great relationship with the people they sold it off to, right? Even if it is a small amount. So
yeah, definitely. So yeah, a bit of breaking news there. The Glazers have sold 5 million shares in the club. I remember this as well being something that they were looking to do a few months ago. So yeah, it's not it's significant for the Glazers because they make about 85 million pounds. But remember that Manchester United 5 million Class shares for about 85 million pounds, I heard. Well, let's not forget that Manchester United are valued at 4 billion. So 85 million isn't even a tenth of a bit. It's about a 40th of the value of the club. So what's that as a percentage?
Yeah, I learned to never do maths on stream. That's where you go wrong, and then you get everyone just ripping you for your poor maths. But
basically, I always I mean, look, I'm not great at maths either. But if somebody spent 85 million pounds on shares in Manchester United, and I know that we're worth 4 billion. For it to be anywhere near making me get excited, they'd have to be spending over 2 billion, because that would be half of what we're worth. So, yeah, it's nothing. It's about 2.5%. A lot of people are saying there. Well, I'm sorry, 2.5% of the business is not significant. They won't get. They are voting rights, but they'll obviously get. Voting rights doesn't mean you can outdo anyone. Donny, I think, would be a perfect deep lying playmaker like Carrick, says Simon. And we are always told that Van der Beek was second choice to Grealish. Hypothetically, at Grealish, I think the situation would have been exactly the same, in my opinion. These players do not work with a CDM, says Paris. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Donny did say he'd been doing a lot of work with Carrick. But look, I go back to that question again. If he can't start tomorrow, while we wait, it's almost like, I don't expect him to start 11. You don't expect him to start. A lot of the people in the chat don't expect him to start. If he can't start tomorrow against Newcastle, when does he start? And how does he make his way into the team? It's like, somebody said it to me this afternoon, and I thought, you know what? They actually make a good point. They said, Why can he not? Why is everyone not expecting him to start tomorrow? He's been stopped from going to Everton. If he doesn't start tomorrow, what is the bloody point in him being here? And yeah, he might start in a future game, but actually, why not start him tomorrow? Maybe he'll start against the Swiss on Tuesday. I don't know. But he does need to start one of the next 2 games, considering West Ham away. He ain't going to be trying things out in that one.
I think it's weird for me because, I understand, people want to see Donny play because, he's a fantastic footballer. He was great for Ajax, especially in the Champions League. The issue that I'm sort of having and where I'm getting confused myself is I don't understand, or I don't see where, people want him to start, because realistically, it's probably going to be Matic and Pogba in the pivot tomorrow, right? That's probably what it's going to be. It's probably going to be Bruno at number 10, right? That's what you'd expect. Now, he's not going to get in for Pogba right now. Pogba's in good form. He's not going to get in for Pogba, and he's not going to get in for Bruno. And we've had so many discussions about how, he's not, the number 6 that you'd play next to a Pogba in a pivot. So in that sense, he's never actually going to start. I think the issue people should have, right? If he's not starting tomorrow, I don't think people should be going crazy, right? That's not the issue. If he doesn't get involved in the game,
it's Ronaldo Day tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, but if he doesn't get involved in the game, that's where you should have an issue, right? Because, the problem a lot of us have had, and where it really started to become a problem, was when there were games where we're watching the game as fans, and you're watching it, you're thinking, Van der Beek could come on and have an impact. Like, we're not really progressing the ball forward well. The link between the defense and the attack is poor, right? Bring somebody in who can do that job a lot better. And you look and you go, Van der Beek as a person. And in those games, he wasn't getting opportunities, right? And that's where you sort of go, hold on a minute, why is he not playing? Like, what's going on? The reality is, when he was bought, I didn't think he was being brought to be a starter. It didn't make sense in that sense. Like, he was never being brought in to be a starter, but you expected him to get regular football still. Like, you don't have to be a starter to get regular football, right? So that's where the issue is. If he doesn't get involved in the game at all tomorrow, then I'd sort of go, oh, hold on a minute. This is really continuing to get out of hand. I'm not expecting him to start. Like, it's probably going to be Pogba, Matic, Sancho out wide with Greenwood out wide as well. Bruno in the number 10. He's never really going to start when he has Pogba and Bruno ahead of him.
It's going to be interesting. Neither of us think he's going to start. And we must remember it's Cristiano Ronaldo Day tomorrow as well. So that's the excitement. And we're just doing what we do on this channel. We're just having a debate about something that is an issue, and, trying to figure out how that issue gets resolved is the interesting thing. We want to get into your questions as well. So that's going to come. But I did just want to mention Cristiano Ronaldo. This is, well, look, for those people who like playing FIFA, which is me and a few others, FIFA ratings for FIFA 22 are coming out. They're starting to trickle out. Mbappe's 91. Obviously, this is always out of 100. The top rated player will probably be Messi at 93. Ronaldo's expected to be 91. Mbappe is 91. 92 is expected to be Lewandowski. Now, I said earlier, forget the FIFA thing for now, because it doesn't matter whether you play FIFA or not. Let's do it as that game, which is a very popular game, has rated footballers. And they've said Messi's 93, Lewandowski's 92, and Ronaldo and Mbappe are 91. Now, I'm obviously very loyal to Cristiano Ronaldo because he plays for Manchester United, but I would still have this argument anyway. And I will tell you as well, there's a lot of people on social media who were saying, oh, come on, Lewandowski's had a better 2 seasons than Ronaldo over the last 2 years. Where do you sit on this, Levin, first of all?
I'll be honest, Mark. There's nothing wrong with the ratings. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it.
I'll have my say in a minute. I'm respectful.
No, but actually, I do want to hear what you have to say, because I don't think there's anything wrong with the ratings. If
you know what it is for me, right?
Okay.
I get what a lot of people say, and I respect it, and I love opinion. And I'm not telling people to believe my opinion over anybody else's. I respect the opinion that people have, but you cannot convince me. And my issue is that I respect that Lewandowski should have won the Ballon d'Or last year, and I think he'll win it this year. So I've got no problem with that. But what I'm saying is, if Kylian Mbappe had 2 years better than Messi, should he get a better FIFA player rating than Messi because he's had 2 years better? And to me, Messi should still always be higher than Mbappe because he's a better player. And therefore, this is where my stance comes in again. I there is no part of me that thinks Lewandowski is a better player than Ronaldo. Not one part of me thinks that Lewandowski is better than Ronaldo. Okay. I accept he's had 2 years better, but that doesn't make him better than Ronaldo. It's like I said, if Mbappe or Neymar had 2 years better than Messi, Messi's still better than them. It's about ability. That's what a rating is for me. It's not about, who's done better for 2 years, unless that player has dropped off. And I don't think Ronaldo has dropped off.
But I think you have the problem. Your problems with the wrong play in the wrong place. Where there's nothing wrong with Lewandowski getting a +1 upgrade. He was 91 already, and he's had 2 phenomenal seasons. Where one of them he definitely would have got Ballon d'Or, and this year he's in the conversation, right? So for him to get a +1 upgrade was deserved. Your issue should be with Ronaldo getting downgraded, right? Because that's the only reason why we're in this position, because Ronaldo got a -1, right? Where he's gone from 92 to -1. So if you're gonna there's nothing with Lewandowski getting an upgrade to me, especially like a +1 upgrade.
Fantastic player. And the trouble with these sort of debates is that people will always make it that because I'm saying Ronaldo, I don't like Lewandowski. And that's just immature inability to actually listen to a debate. I think Lewandowski deserves the Ballon d'Or, and he deserved it last year. But as I said, does that make he's had 2 years better than Messi? Should he have a 93 rating? No, he's nowhere near as good as Messi. And I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Ronaldo. But the best thing about this is that we can almost end the debate there, because Lewandowski plays in the Bundesliga. Okay. Cristiano Ronaldo plays in the Premier League. Let's see what happens this season, because we're going to watch every single minute of Ronaldo. And if he's dropped off, we're going to be discussing about it once a week on the Sunday night show, Match Reactions. So I'm telling you now, get a comfy seat, because I don't think for 1 second Ronaldo has dropped off. And I love it when people say in the chat he's dropped off, or on social media he's dropped off, because Cristiano Ronaldo's whole career is actually sitting down people who doubt him. And I do not believe for 1 minute he's dropped off.
Yeah. Look, in general, like when it comes to FIFA, like I'm not taking FIFA's rating seriously, because I just don't think they do too great of a job in that sense. There's lots of places where you can look at their ratings and there's just flaws, plenty, right? When it comes to Ronaldo, yeah, like this, I think people struggle to see where he's actually done. Like, he should get credit, right, for the fact that at his age, he's evolved his game to be like a master of something, to the point where like he is still one of the elite players in the world. Like it. You look at other people and other footballers throughout history, getting to that age where they are, nowhere near, like there's nowhere near, what Ronaldo is and what he's been able to continue to do in football. So yeah, like to me, is no drop off. Like, he's done the smart thing. He's done the best thing he could possibly do. He's evolved his game to be able to remain at the elitist of the, football pyramid. I don't really see a drop off there.
We've got the Man United squad, which has got some interesting bits in it, which we'll talk about in a moment. But, here's the interesting thing on this one, and you can answer this in the chat as well. Man United need a number 9. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo. If you'd had the choice of Lewandowski, would you take Lewandowski over Ronaldo at number 9?
I saw the taking Ronaldo. Yeah. Saw this taking Ronaldo, and just because it's like it's
the remote. The thing is, it's very difficult subjectively, isn't it? Because it's the romance. Yeah. But I actually 100% take away the romance, which is difficult for me because it's a fairy tale to get Ronaldo back. But I actually would rather have that type of a striker. I think he's more mobile, which I like. Over 10 yards, he's more mobile. I think he's better in the air. I do think Lewandowski's a better finisher. I do think he's a better finisher, but look, that's not saying Ronaldo can't finish. I think Ronaldo in the air is like, I love headed goals, and I think he's the best header of the ball in world football. He leaps like a salmon, and he's got neck muscles like a giraffe. He's unbelievable. So I'm definitely team Ronaldo in that. But I've been saying this for a couple of years now. I think Ronaldo is the complete number 9. I just think people probably don't grasp that. And I think there's a lot of United fans who don't grasp it. We still get people in the chat saying, well, let's just play him on the left and put Cavani in front. And I'm like, you've not watched Ronaldo for about 5 years, have you? You really don't know what he is now. And I think it's going to be great for people to see what he is now, because he is a number 9.
Yeah, that's going to be the one thing that I think will hit a lot of people. It's interesting that you bring up the left wing thing, because he isn't a left winger anymore in the traditional sense of what a left winger is, or what he once was at our club, right? But he still really does like to drift out to the left. Like, you know, we saw it in the game against Portugal where he got the 2 headers where, you know, the second header especially, he scores his header from like the position of a left winger, right? Where he's like back post. And that's why like it gets me excited because he really likes to take on like fullbacks in those aerial duels. He can beat centre-backs anyway because he is just so good at it. Like a lot of the time he's jumping against fullbacks, right? So like you think to yourself, if he does that in games, right, where he just drifts out further than the left winger a bit in the box, what right back in the Premier League can take him in an aerial duel?
I want to talk about that because I want to talk about whether Cavani and Ronaldo can get in the team, and then we're going to talk about the squad release, which is not amazingly exciting, but there's a couple of admissions that a couple of people who aren't there that are quite interesting. But I'm just reading the chat while I'm listening to you, Levin, and there's a couple of people have just said, I can't believe people are comparing Ronaldo to Lewandowski, and I'm like, they're actually saying it from the point that they think Lewandowski's clear. Let me just tell you something. Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the best footballers to ever play football. I'm telling you what, in 20 years' time, no one will be talking about Lewandowski. Not really.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
No, they won't do. Man. People barely talk about Batistuta now. Batistuta was look, I don't like to pull the age card because Levin's technical analysis of football is elite, as we know. But I know how football works. And in 20 years' time, Lewandowski won't get mentioned that much. Batistuta was a world-class striker. When was the last time he got mentioned before I mentioned it now? I'm not doing it to be arsey. I'm saying I'd love to think in 20 years' time people will be going on about Lewandowski, but they won't. Because I've known loads of top strikers and they don't get mentioned 20 years later. It's only the greats. Like from 20 years ago, Zidane, because he was brilliant. But there was loads of great players around then.
But do you know what I'd say to that? Even though I do see your point because there are legendary strikers that get forgotten about. Like, I love to always try to study and figure out, and I will learn about new players almost every day. The difference is now where just like social media era, how things get passed along. Like, there are kids who know about like football and legends simply because of FIFA. Like, you play FIFA, you see Puskás, you're like, oh, who's Puskás, right? And like, you know about him then. And in that sense, like, just because of the like way the world's changed and the way we consume football has changed, I think you will, like, people will still know about Lewandowski and talk about him in 20 years, just simply because of that, in that sense. But he's a legendary striker. So I don't even want to seem like I'm in, and even I know you're not discrediting him, right? But it's like, I don't even want to seem like that. I think people will still talk about it.
But look, you know, Suvic just said Raul, Van Nistelrooy, somebody mentioned Shevchenko. I mean, I've not heard those mentioned in a few weeks. You know, Van Nistelrooy gets mentioned sometimes on this channel because it's a United channel, but they don't get mentioned. And I hope that Lewandowski does get mentioned. But what my answer to this is that the reason I'm saying this is there was a couple of people in the chat saying, I can't believe Ronaldo's being compared to Lewandowski. I'm like, yeah, in 20 years' time, we'll definitely still be talking about Ronaldo and Messi. We might not be talking about Lewandowski because you're talking about a world-class striker against a player that is one of the world's greatest ever. And also, I do rate Lewandowski. I'm not saying that I don't. I think Ronaldo's a better number 9. And we'll see what happens this year because I'm more than happy for Ronaldo to go against Lewandowski this year, even though Lewandowski's playing in a farmers league and Ronaldo's going to be playing in a proper league. And I do stand by that. I've watched the Bundesliga, the boring Liga, I call it. He spent all his career in the Bundesliga and playing for Poland. Now, he's banged in a lot of goals, but Ronaldo's done it in England. He's done it in La Liga. He's done it in a Portuguese side that, you know, doesn't really compare with the quality that Argentina and France and others have got. And he's done it in Serie A as well. I think, let's bring it on. Ronaldo against Lewandowski. They should both be 92 rated, not 91 and 92. I love Lewandowski. He's my vote for Ballon d'Or, but I'm more than happy with Ronaldo. And let's bring it on. And I think Ronaldo's a better player.
Yeah, I just would want to. I'd more so want to know why they've downgraded Ronaldo. Maybe it's just like they're just ageist in that sense.
He didn't have a great season for Juventus, but the trouble is with Ronaldo, you know, Levin, you make a great point. I don't know what the chat thinks. Ronaldo doesn't get treated as an individual. Lewandowski didn't win the Champions League last year. Now, I think he was actually injured for the quarterfinal against PSG. If it was the quarterfinal, it might have been the round before that.
Yeah, he missed some games. Yeah,
but no one will talk about that. They'll still say Lewandowski's brilliant. But Juventus don't win the league. Ronaldo's fell off. He's fell off. You know, it's like, and this is the great thing about having Ronaldo at United is because he becomes the team. If the team doesn't win something, Ronaldo's definitely fell off because they didn't win the Champions League and they didn't win the league. Whereas, you know, if you're a Haaland or a Lewandowski or something like that, you actually do get, and the same with Messi. It's the same with Messi. To be fair, if Barcelona don't win the league or they don't win the Champions League, he's fell off because that's the standard of a Ronaldo and a Messi. They're bigger than the team they play for. Whereas, you know, a normal world-class player, it's like, well, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They were injured, or it's not their fault that, you know, Ronaldo didn't have a terrible season with Juventus, but Juventus had a terrible season.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about that right for a second. Because, yeah, like, we're not, you know, Juventus weren't amazing. They sacked their manager. Pirlo got the sack, right? Because, you know, it was his first season. He wasn't phenomenal. And I think for the most part, you know, he didn't necessarily get the best out of Ronaldo, and like he didn't manage that situation well, I think. And I think many people, you know, look at that and go, oh, you know, and I think Ronaldo himself will see it as not like two of his best seasons of his career. You know, and obviously the goal scoring production just doesn't go down. Like even if Ronaldo has a bad season by his standards, like the goal scoring production and all that, it won't go down. It'll just be other areas where you look at it and think, oh, maybe that wasn't the best. And that should excite you as a United fan, because like it's just we are getting guaranteed goals. Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there as well who watch the United stand who aren't United fans, and those people definitely want Lewandowski to be better, because they don't want United to do well. So bring it on.
The way I see it is like you always have to have a balance, right? When it's like, you know, form versus like what you know a player is. Because at the end of the day, yeah, like Lewandowski has had 2 phenomenal seasons. His past 2 seasons have definitely been better than Ronaldo's past 2 seasons. Like I wouldn't argue that. But like, at what point, where do you balance that? Because even in like, I'll give you another example, right? Who do you think is a better centre back, Maguire or Varane?
Varane, isn't it? Easy, isn't it?
Right, and I think a lot of people agree with you. Maguire probably had a better season than Varane last season, right? But that doesn't make you say, oh, Varane isn't as good of a centre back as Maguire is, right? Like it wouldn't make you say that. So,
and that's my point. That's why I'm saying that Lewandowski should not have a higher rating than Ronaldo, because it's not true. But somebody did say that apparently Ronaldo's got a deal with Konami, so that might explain it. Well, I don't know whether that's true or not.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have a deal with EA, does he? Yeah, he's
apparently Lewandowski scored 42 goals in 29 games last year. But I'll tell you what, if I was up front for Bayern, I'd score 30. I mean, it's
don't do that, Mark.
It's
don't do that.
Well, I'd score 10. Hey, I'd score 10.
In the Bundesliga, they play with very high lines. You're gonna have to do a lot of running, man. You know.
Yeah.
You got the lungs for that.
That's just dropped down to 2 penalties.
Yeah,
I'd score 2 penalties out of the 15. I'd say, oh, he's missed another one. I'm here to prove a point that I can score 2 goals up front for Bayern. I'm taking all the free kicks and all the penalties. We're mid-table. I don't care.
I'm sure the girls will give you plenty of time.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I actually genuinely do think that I'd love to see that experiment, like a Solihull Moors or a Stevenage striker playing up front for Pep, because I guarantee they'd still score 10 goals just because they'd get chances put on a plate at some point from the players around them. But Bayern Munich, look, I despair at the Bundesliga, just very quickly. I do despair at it. I remember when we had COVID and the Bundesliga came back first. And I think a lot of people got really into the Bundesliga because it was the only football you could watch. And you were like,
I remember.
Oh, look at the league table. Dortmund or Leipzig or somebody else could win it. And you thought, I've got nothing else. There's nothing else for me to watch.
Yeah,
I'm going for this. And within 2 games, you saw how inconsistently crap everyone else was and how dominant Bayern are. And you just go, I like Bayern. I think in the Champions League, they're a great watch. But the Bundesliga, oh, God, they're just too good for it. It's just not an interesting league.
You got to find like the good matchups. Like there's some games that I'll watch, like there's some Bundesliga games I'll watch just because like, you know, you get good teams. Like when it was like Nagelsmann at Leipzig, like I'd watch some of their games against certain teams because that's interesting. But like watching Bayern, like it's fun. So if you want to watch like really good football, yeah, definitely watch Bayern because you'll get that. But it's like they just dominate people. It's just it's unreal.
All the way from I do think that the Bundesliga is a look, Lewandowski, I think you could put Harry Kane in that team and he'd score a shitload of goals as well because he's world class. There's no doubt that he's a world class striker. But I'm more than happy with Ronaldo, and that story starts tomorrow. I can't wait to see it. And I think, look, I've always been loyal to Ronaldo. He's not always been loyal to United. He went to Real Madrid, of course, but I've always been loyal to the ability that he is. And I think that he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. I think there's a lot of people who think he's finished, and I think there's a lot of people who don't realise what he is. But it all comes down to Ollie, actually, to be fair, Levin. Before we talk about the squad, the one thing that is always in the back of my head is he ain't going to score a lot of goals if we play like we did last year, because it's hard being the United striker when you're not getting any service.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that we will gear a lot of our game. I don't expect to see massive tactical adjustments. Like, I don't think we're going to change shape or anything. But I'd be very interested to see, like, us attacking down the right-hand side a bit more, getting more crosses into the box, right? Because that's where you can sort of, get the best out of Ronaldo. So I'll be looking out for those things tomorrow, really. But no, it's exciting. It's exciting. I think, like you said, we can't play the way we've played in a lot of games. Even the games this season against Wolves, we can't play like that with Ronaldo in the team. But like, I'm quoting Fred here, right? Fred said everybody's level has to get higher, right? And that includes Fred himself. So I'm hoping we see that, instantly.
Fred, bloody hell.
Yeah.
It's like taking the advice from a I can't say it. No, I'm not say it.
Did you see the Fred interview today?
No.
I saw it. And
I get too angry with Fred at the moment. He just. I actually like Fred. I do. I don't agree with how much stick he gets. I remember Fred playing well for United, and he can do it again. But at the moment, I can't argue. It's like what I said about Martial. Martial's one of my favourite players, but last year he was crap, and at the moment, Fred is crap.
Well, that's what I say to people as well, because like I get people's frustration with Fred. Like, I'm never going to sit and try defend how Fred's performed over the past 2 games. It's been shocking. But like, I always try to say to people, like, I understand you don't like Fred, but he's been bad for 2 games. Let's hope he can get back to some sort of form, because he's not like like you said, Mark. I remember watching the United stand where you're giving people ratings, and there's times where you're giving Fred the highest rating, and people were agreeing because, like, he's not been useless. He's been very inconsistent, but he's not just a completely useless bad player, right? And I'd like to hope that we get the good Fred, or the best of Fred, right, moving forward, instead of what we've seen the past 2 games.
Zayn is in the house with his Arsenal crap, basically. What's he saying? We are richer than United and Chelsea combined with Kroenke and his wife. Yeah, you don't want to spend it, though. Once we get Conte, I've heard we'll have 300 million budget. What he did with Chelsea and Inter, be worried for next summer. Yeah, we don't live in a fairy tale. It's like waiting for that guy who writes Game of Thrones to write his book that he's been doing for 10 years. Oh, next year it'll be completed. Mate, we're living in the now. In fact, we're living in the next 24 hours. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo playing for us tomorrow, and you're talking about next year. I feel for you, Zayn, because I know you're a very, very, very proud Arsenal fan, but that's all you got at the moment, isn't it, really? Let's talk about this squad that's been released, and then we'll finish up talking about Cavani, because I do want to just go through the squad that's been released. So this is on United Stand, at United Stand MUFC Twitter account, so I presume it's confirmed. So no Henderson. The goalkeepers are De Gea, Heaton and Grant. So Henderson's obviously not back ready yet. Wan-Bissaka, Dello, Varane, Maguire, Lindelof, Bailly, Shaw. Matic, Van der Beek, Pogba, Mata, Lingard, Fernandes, Martial, Sancho, Greenwood, Elanga, Ronaldo. So no Cavani, no Fred, no McTominay. That is quite interesting, Levin. I am actually quite surprised about that's the squad for the match tomorrow, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Now, people can turn up late. Some people live in the hotel. I don't know whether Cavani doesn't live in the hotel, so I don't know. It's interesting because somebody said yesterday, no, Cavani hadn't been seen in training or anything like that. So maybe that was actually quite a good leak. But so no Fred, no McTominay at all in that squad. Does that enhance the excitement around Donny? Well, it doesn't really, because he can start Matic and Pogba.
Yeah, and I think that's what he will start. I think he'll start Matic and Pogba. Look, like, it depends on, to me, what it depends on what he does with Sancho, right? Because obviously Sancho had that knock and whatnot. And so maybe he, does the whole Ollie thing of like easing him back in, where he'll sub him on later on in the game. And if that's what, like, I think that's what we could maybe see, right? If he doesn't start Sancho, which I think he will, and I want to see Sancho start, because I think he does just need to get more time, so he can ease into the league. But if he doesn't start Sancho, he'll probably play Pogba off the left. He'll play Donny and Matic in the pivot, and that's the hope for Donny to start. And if he and then he'll probably sub on Sancho for Donny, bring Pogba back into the midfield with Matic, and then play Sancho out wide. That's what I could see happening if Sancho didn't start. I think Sancho will start, and so Pogba will be in the midfield with Matic.
I'm just trying to, just while we're live, just trying to figure out what is going on. I mean, the match day squad can be inaccurate. Sometimes people arrive a little bit late, but as things stand at the moment, the 4 key absentees are, well, Dean Henderson, we thought might be part of the squad. He's not. Fred, not. McTominay, not. Cavani, not. I mean, if Cavani's not part of the squad, then Ronaldo definitely will start. And I thought, I haven't actually asked you that, Levin. Do you think Ronaldo will start tomorrow?
Yeah, like when I heard, Ronaldo say to Wes Brown, I'm gonna pressure Ollie for me to start. Like, now that Ronaldo's put that out there, if he doesn't start, people are just gonna see it as Ollie made that decision. And like I said to you on the show a couple of days ago, Mark, there's no way Cristiano Ronaldo is going to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and saying, I want to start, please start me. And Ollie's going, nah. Like, I just refuse to believe it. I will not believe it. Even if I see it, I still won't believe it. And so for that reason, I think he will start.
Yeah, it's very hard to find out what the story is with Cavani, so I'm not going to say he's definitely out, but from the squad that's been released by the Manchester Evening News, no Cavani seen, no McTominay seen, no Fred seen. Sometimes that doesn't mean anything, but there was some rumours yesterday that Cavani hadn't been training, but he wasn't mentioned by Ollie as a potential absentee. So maybe he's just arrived differently or anything like that. But we are. I was going to say that anyway, Levin. What would you, if Cavani, not even for tomorrow, if Cavani's not part of the squad, he will be part of the squad at some point. Do you see a way of getting? We've spoken about that midfield situation and how Donny could play and whether he can play with a Pogba or not. Can you play Cavani and Ronaldo in the same team? Do you think?
I don't think we're going to see them start in a game together, but I think people forget. I talked about it on the show yesterday with Adam and everyone. It's very much short-term memory because, we look back at last season, Cavani played 26 games in the Premier League. He started 13. Half of his games he played as a sub, right? For most of last season, Cavani was the best plan B in the world for us, right? Like, he'd get subbed on in games and he changed the game around for us. And I think that's how Ollie wanted to use, Cavani for the most part. As much as he's been brilliant for us, I think that was the intention. I think when Martial got injured is when he, really had to rely on Cavani, right? And so for that reason, I don't think much is going to change now. I think now that he has Ronaldo who he can rely on, I think he'll use Cavani similar to how he was the first half of last season, brings him on in certain games. And where they can play together, Mark, is when, obviously I don't expect him to be subbing off Ronaldo, right? So he'll probably sub on Cavani for someone else and Ronaldo will shift out wide a bit and Cavani will play up front because, like I said earlier, Ronaldo, even though he's a number 9 now, he does like to shift out wide for phases of games. He did it for Portugal, literally in the international break we just saw like 2 weeks ago. So that's how I expect to see them playing with each other. But I don't think they'll start together in many or any games.
A lot of people saying it in the chat, like Nimesh there, and I totally agree with him. I think that for me, and I agree with Levin, to start them, you would have to mess about with the system because you don't put Cavani on the wing, you don't put Ronaldo on the wing because, one thing we know about Ollie is that those wide players have got to track back, and you never saw Ronaldo in 2008 going back as a fullback. Really, he's not going to do it now at 36. And the same for Cavani; they've got to play as the striker, so you'd have to play a front two. Do those two complement each other as a front two? Probably not really. I think you may see them both as a front two in a game where you're chasing something and you want to overwhelm a back four. You've had a bad game away to Newcastle. There's 20 minutes to go and you put them both on up front at St James's Park and Newcastle Park the Bus. That sort of a game, I think that might work because they generally they're going to attack the same space, aren't they? Because they're both world-class strikers. Yeah,
I think where we could get like something magical is where you get Ronaldo attacking the back post and Cavani trying to attack the front post, and then like you're just so dangerous, right? Because either of them are so good at both those things. The actual hope for Cavani would be maybe Ollie looks at all of his attackers and he goes, well, I want some defending from the front, right? Like you talked about how Ronaldo's not tracking back. Ronaldo, across the top 5 leagues in Europe, Ronaldo's in the bottom 1% for pressures. Like
Yeah.
he does,
And
like
Cavani must be pretty high, actually. That's a great point.
Cavani's great in that sense, right? And so Ollie might look at the team and go, I need some defending from the front. Like, so let me, the way he shoehorned Pogba, right? You shoehorn Cavani and somehow, so you still have someone doing that job for you. But if his wide players are doing that, then maybe he won't need it. But that's probably the only hope for Cavani, starting with Ronaldo.
Yeah, it is interesting because you do need that. And I think also what you were saying before about Cavani, I said it when we bought him, I was quite against buying him. And the reason I was against buying him is because his injury record read like War and Peace. It was just ridiculously long. And it's continued with that at United. But the positive of that is that we also know what a brilliant player he's been when he has played. Well, look, he probably, I think somebody said it before we even bought Ronaldo. He's not expected to be involved with, only 60% of our games. There's an expectation that he won't be involved for 40% of our games for various reasons, whether that's rest or injury. So, I think there'll definitely be a role for him. And also, we're assuming that Ronaldo is going to play 90% of our games. I mean, that there may well be games where Ronaldo has a little bit of a game off and, Cavani starts. But, you might have to get that pencil out and start penciling them in for different sorts of games because but then Ronaldo just wants to score goals, doesn't he? I can imagine Ollie saying, you're not playing against West Ham in the Carabao Cup. And he's thinking, how many goals am I behind Rooney? There might be a couple of goals for me there. I just want to. How many goals? Here's two questions for the chat. One, what was Fred's rating on FIFA last year? That's it. That intrigues me. And two, how many goals behind Rooney is Ronaldo? For some reason, I'm thinking 113, but I might have got that wrong.
Well, look, in the Wes Brown interview, he said he didn't. His contract is 2 years plus one. If he wants, he said in his interview 3 to 4 years. So 3 to 4 years more of Ronaldo. I mean, you can catch in 4 years. Ronaldo can get 81 goals. He can get 81 goals in 4 years.
No, I think his rating's 81.
Oh, Fred's 81.
Yeah. Which
How many
is
goals
more than Camavinga and Bellingham this year. They're both.
That's why I tell you, like, FIFA ratings aren't like, they're not the be or end all, because it's like they have their, like, Bellingham probably should be higher, but they're not gonna, like, they already upgraded him by like 10 points, I think, from last year, and like they don't like to do that. Like, they don't like to up someone by like 20, right? Even though Bellingham probably deserves it over Fred.
Yeah, he's gone up a lot, hasn't
he? Yeah.
He's 135 goals behind Rooney. Yeah, I don't think he's going to do that.
135 in 4 years.
No.
So what, he'd need like how many a year? Someone do the maths. I'm not doing that. 42 a year.
Oh, no, that's in 3 years. He'd need 42 every year.
In 4 years, right? Because he said 3 to 4 years he's going to be here in the Wes Brown interview. Maybe he was a bit confused, but I'm hoping he's actually going to be here for 4 years.
Yeah, but even if he got 30 goals a year, that's still only 120. And look, we're going to have to play some wicked football because in Ollie...
I think he can get 33 goals all comps this season. I expect that because he's basically got that like every year. For how many? Let me actually check. How many goals has he got in the past in the league alone? Right. So this is just the league alone. Last year 29. The year before that 31. Year before that 21. Then before that at Real Madrid it was 26, 25. But some of those games he's playing out wide. And before that 35, 48. But that was peak Ronaldo 2014, 15. I think he'll get 33 goals all comps this year. I believe.
Do you think he's going to catch Rooney 135 goals?
That's ambitious. I'd love it because it would be brilliant, like that kind of story. Because if he does that and we go back to like being a winning team every year, it would be magical. That's going to be tough. That will be really tough.
It needs 35 in 4 years, 33.5 goals for the next 4 years. I tell you what, I don't think he's going to play 4 years. I think he's going to play 2. And I was asked this the other day. I don't know what you think, Evan. Somebody said, oh, he's going to retire at United. This is not retiring at United. He'll still be playing football at 42, probably in the MLS. So yeah, he won't retire at United. He might go back to Sporting Lisbon, but he'll be playing for he ain't going to retire at United, I don't think. I think he'll just keep going and going as long as he can.
Yeah, I don't think he'll retire at United either. I expect Ronaldo at some point in his career to play in the MLS. Like, I feel like he's mentioned playing in the MLS before as well.
Yeah.
So I think that will always happen at some point.
Well, look, I just can't wait. I cannot wait. And it's not even about tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow. But, this might be 3 years. It might be 2 years. But it's not, Ronaldo's not for Christmas. He's for life. People say this about puppies and stuff. Everyone's getting hyped. I know why the hype's there tomorrow. It's going to be great. But just imagine that hype doesn't end tomorrow. If he starts against the Swiss side, he'll start against West Ham. It's a present we've got to get used to opening every couple of days now. It's so exciting tomorrow because it's the first time, but it's going to be, it's not like a cameo game in a Man United shirt. It's going to be for the next 2 years at least.
You still feel like it's unreal for you, innit? Like you see the pictures and you go, like it's not. It's like a loan thing or something. Like Ronaldo just comes back to play for one game, but like you realize, no, he's actually our player now for a couple of seasons. That's mad.
Well, I don't know about you because you've got a very analytical mind, and it's like sometimes I'll watch a United game and I'll think, I'm going to have to watch this back again later, and I'm like a Wolves game. I was like, I really don't want to watch this back, but you do it because that's sort of the job, isn't it? You have to sort of have a look. I just can't wait to watch Ronaldo against Newcastle back again, and maybe even again, because I just want to analyze that player and his movement and compare it to Harry Kane or someone like that, because it's like, I don't think there has been a drop off. I still think he is one of the best players in the world, and analysing that and seeing that, and it might take a bit of time. Some people have said, look, it's going to take him a bit of time to get used to the Prem. Do you think it will take him time to get used to the Prem? No, I don't.
I think he knows what it's about. It's like I get what people talking about, like, because at the end of the day, as much as a player, like, no matter how good a player is, there might be certain things they have to adjust to, but ultimately, like, this is someone who A, has been here before, 2, has been in the biggest games in world football. Like, he said that he'll feel nervous, and everyone gets nervous when you are doing a high pressure job. I used to get nervous before shows, but as soon as you click the live button, like, you don't really care anymore, right? And like, I don't think he'll need to adjust, right? Maybe he'll get a couple harsh tugs and whatnot from people like Tarkovsky or whatever, but like he'll deal with it. He's been dealing with worse. So no, I don't think there'll be an adjustment really for him. I think he'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. One thing I did want to ask you, who do you think will take the penalties and who do you think will take the free kicks? Do you think it will be Sead or what?
Like, objectively, you talked about, 11 analytical mind. Like, objectively, it should be Bruno for both. Because Bruno's penalty record is better than Ronaldo's. Like, Bruno's missed like one penalty in like his whole career or something stupid like that. Whereas Ronaldo has missed quite a few. And free kicks, like, statistically, Bruno's just far better as well. So it should be Bruno for both. But I think it'll be Bruno free kicks and Ronaldo, I think, will get penalties. It's funny because I saw, like, I think it might have been on The Athletic or something, and it was someone that mentioned how it's the worst thing ever when, like, a legendary player for your club or just anyone for your club scores a legendary free kick like Ronaldo. Because because of that, that's the main reason now why people are wondering if he'll take free kicks, because he's just that legendary free kick that we got how many years ago now. It's like the worst thing ever, because now people who don't really know too much might think, oh yeah, get Ronaldo a free kicks. It's Ronaldo, but no, it should be Bruno.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say something else controversial. I've done the Lewandowski against Ronaldo thing. I'm now going to say I agree with you. I think Bruno's technique on penalties, he's better than Ronaldo, but Ronaldo will take the penalties. But it's about technique. To be honest with you, I'd probably still go Messi, but you could make a case that Jorginho should take penalties over Messi because his technique is so difficult to stop. Having said that, he's missed a couple recently.
Yeah, unless
that I was trying to think of a really world-class player who's good at penalties, and Messi is. But is his technique better than Jorginho? It's a difficult one. But I think in the case, Ronaldo's a brilliant penalty taker, but I do trust Bruno's technique more. But Ronaldo will still take penalties, and it's the same as if Jorginho was in the same team as Messi, Messi would still take the penalties because it's Messi and Ronaldo, isn't it? So
yeah.
But the technique I think Jorginho and Bruno's technique at the moment, and I know they've both missed penalties, but I think their technique is so difficult to read. It's not just running up there and going, I'm going to put it in this corner. They're actually playing with the keeper. They know they're going to score every time, really.
Yeah. I can see though. I can see Bruno almost like giving him the pens just because it's like, yeah, I want you to get as many goals as you can.
Yeah,
Kind
he's
of
his
thing,
idol,
you know?
isn't it? Yeah, he won't care.
So, but I'm fine with him giving up the pens because even though Bruno's technically better on pens, you know, Ronaldo doesn't miss loads. He missed one a couple of days ago in Hungary, and it's not the best time to say that. But Ronaldo doesn't miss loads, so I'm not too bothered. Free kicks, though, shouldn't be Ronaldo. Like, nobody can convince me free kicks should be Ronaldo. He's not, you know, an elite free kick taker, you know, or he's not as good as Bruno. He's not as good as a lot of people. He's, you know, you shouldn't be on free kicks.
Like Ali just said there, at least we're not going to see Fred next to Bruno talking about free kicks anymore. He's going to be talking to Maguire on the halfway line, isn't he?
Yeah, he should be.
I used to have a chat on about these. Yeah, shut up and just stay back here with me.
Yeah,
be interesting. Well, look, it's exciting. It's been a really good show, actually. We had a good couple of debates there, which is good on a Friday night, and passed a bit of time as we all prepare for tomorrow, Ronaldo Day. But you know, is there any chance we lose tomorrow? I don't think there's a bloody chance in hell. They're going to sit back and we'll score. Simple as that.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about is just the transition, because if he's going to play Pogba, Matic, we've seen Matic get burnt a couple of times this season. Pogba transitionally, defensively, has never been great. And so, like, Callum Wilson and St. Massive, did you know, like, Callum Wilson was like the 5th or 4th fastest player last season? Like, he's quick. So that could be a worry, but we should still be winning that game. Like, I think we'll win 3-0, but that's something to watch out for.
A lot of people talking about Manchester Evening News that Ronaldo is expected to start tomorrow. I mean, what? Manchester Evening News? Jim White, Slow Sports News. Ronaldo expected to start for Manchester United tomorrow. Wow. You know, were we not talking about this last night, 2 days ago, this morning, after Ollie's press conference? Ronaldo said he wants to start. Ollie's confirmed he's going to play in some way. He's going to start the match tomorrow. He's going to start tomorrow. Of course he's going to start tomorrow.
Callum Wilson's out, apparently. That's good to know.
Yeah, I mentioned that in the preview, actually. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
They've got no chance, have they, really? I mean, St. Maximum's a risk, is a threat. But, yeah, there'll be no problems there. Look, everyone.
Wilson's out, we're fine.
Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe and get involved. Big day tomorrow. Lots going on. You're going to be on, aren't you, 11? You're doing bits with me and the fan forum as well, I think. Yeah.
I'll be around tomorrow. So hopefully it's a win, because if it's a loss, you'll see the despair in my eyes, honestly.
You can't lose. You can't have Ronaldo Day and then lose. You've got to win.
Tomorrow is actually Ronaldo Day, isn't it?
It is Ronaldo Day. Yeah. You know what the sad thing is, on a serious note, though, I did realise it, is that tomorrow is 20 years on from 9/11, isn't it?
Oh, don't say that now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying.
Yeah, no, but I'm thinking about. I know, but it's like calling tomorrow Ronaldo Day is now like just a bit almost. It's almost insensitive.
Well, we must. I was going to say, you know, if you are so obliged, which I'm sure many of you are, you know, do pay respects for that, because it's 20 years since that horrific day. And life does go on. That's the way it goes. And tomorrow, for Manchester United fans, it's a very, very, very exciting day. And it is Ronaldo Day for United fans, because, you know, he's our boy and he's coming home. And I never thought I'd see it happen. And it's a fairy tale. So, look, thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for coming on, Levin.
Thank you for having me.